What is going on, everybody? Welcome to Dave Talks Ball in this November 4th, 2024 episode. Opening night of college basketball, folks. That's why we are starting a night, or should say an hour. Let's say a night early. Opening night of college basketball. We're starting an hour early so we can get back, watch some of these games. I know you do as well. But you also got to get caught up on your Dave Talks Ball as well, folks. So we got a lot to cover. We're going to get right into it. Opening night of college basketball. I'll briefly go over that. We got games going right now. Week 10 recap across. 5 big matchups we got to go over. Road to Atlanta. My initial 12-team playoff rankings. Just my personal 1 through 12. And then myself, Cole Thompson, and Chris Phillips will give an initial reaction to the college football playoff rankings that get released tomorrow. Remember, election day is not the only important thing tomorrow. This is a big initial college ball playoff rankings, guys. The biggest we've seen in a while. It used to really not matter when it was 4. It's like, it's inevitably going to change. Again, they messed up by not moving Florida State back earlier when all that happened. Conversation for another day. But tomorrow is very important to see how they're going to determine where they rank these teams. Quality wins, eye test, schedule, etc. I'll give you my 12 team, and then we will look ahead briefly to the matchups heading up to week 11. We got 2 big ones right off the top of our heads. Georgia at Ole Miss, elimination game for Ole Miss in Oxford on Saturday afternoon, and then obviously the big one, it is a playoff game. Loser, unless a lot of chaos happens, will not be making the 2024 college ball playoff when Alabama travels to Baton Rouge, the Red Stick, to face the LSU Tigers. Surprisingly enough, a place Alabama has only lost, wild stat for you folks here, a place Alabama has only lost 5 times at since 1970. Let that sink in. Bear Bryant, I think, had a 30-year win streak going in there. Nick Saban had a lot of success. So makes sense, but we will talk about all that. But let's get right to it. Opening night in college basketball. Right now we got, let me pull up my schedule I put together for you guys. Go over. We got Tennessee was up 10 at half. When I was following it, we got Kentucky was up 20 at half again. I think shooting like 49% from 3. So, I mean, it's baffling, really, what Kentucky's doing from 3. Kobe Bryant, Jackson Robinson, the Big 12 Player of the Year from BYU, coming over with Mark Pope. But, yeah, Tennessee up 44-34 at half. UCF, Texas A&M in Orlando. A&M got off to a hot start. They were up 12-2 for the longest. Again, it was classic A&M basketball. Shut down defensively, weren't generating a lot on offense. But they're tied 29-29, one of the better games in the league today. Kentucky up 22, 46-24 over Wright State at half. South Carolina up 5, 36-31 against North Florida, the Ospreys right now. We got Mississippi State up 24-12 with 7:26, 7.5 left against West Georgia in the first half. Georgia's up 1 against Tennessee Tech with 7 minutes left in the first half. And then later on, we got Vanderbilt against Maryland Eastern Shore, Martin Byington's first game in Nashville. A big one, Missouri at Memphis. At the FedEx Forum, we saw Memphis play Alabama in an exhibition the other night. Missouri, can Dennis Gates and the boys bounce back from a defeated 0-18 conference play schedule season last year? They should be able to. Florida, South Florida in Jacksonville. That'll be a good one as well. Ole Miss, Long Island, Alabama, UNC, Asheville, Oklahoma, Lindenwood, and Ohio State, Texas to cap it off for you as we go through right now. I mean, just looking at it right now, Alabama versus UNC Asheville, Alabama's projected to win, according to KenPom, 94-69 with a 99% chance of winning that game. Let's look at some other ones across the line. Missouri, Memphis. They got Missouri winning this one. Memphis projected KenPom 78-73. It's 34% chance of winning right now. Again, these numbers are all over the place because, again, it's tough to predict college basketball right out of the gate, guys. I mean, it really is. It's awesome. It is awesome to cover, but tough to predict right out of the gates. We got a big one, Texas, Ohio State in Vegas late tonight. KenPom has the Longhorns getting a 73-72 1-point win with a 55% chance of winning that game right now. We got Vanderbilt. Does he have one for Vanderbilt? Let's see. Vanderbilt, Maryland, Eastern Shore. Let's see if he has. I'm sure he does. Let's see. Kim Pomeroy has. Yeah, Vanderbilt with a 99% chance of winning tonight, 84-59. I hadn't looked into Maryland Eastern. They must not be very good, dude, if he's predicted them to almost win by 30 and a 99% chance of winning heading into this one. But that'd be a good first win from Art Byington. We got Todd Golden, the boys. First one against South Florida in Jacksonville. Let's see where he's got. They're not that low. Let's see. Oh, again, gotta love Kim Pom. You got to use that. Numbers based a little bit in college basketball right now. I don't know why. Let's see. South Florida. Let's see. Here we go. Right now, that game, he's got Florida with a 79% chance winning. His numbers say Florida will beat South Florida tonight, 79-71. Going through some other games, potentially Ole Miss. Let's go look at the Rebels across the board there. They're playing Long Island University tonight. Chris Beard and them second season should be good. 99% chance of winning tonight as well. 89-62 is what Kim Pom has for Ole Miss. Sorry, guys. I don't know where that took me real fast. Sorry. No. But here, let's keep going through here. We went through the Oklahoma. Let's go to Oklahoma. We hadn't been through Oklahoma yet. Oklahoma, Lindenwood. Interesting little matchup there. Oklahoma with, again, another 99% chance, 83-56 going across the board. Make sure I hit everybody. Yeah, the games that already started. Yeah, I already hit everybody. So, obviously the big matchups tonight to keep it on. The biggest, Texas-Ohio State late tonight on TNT. It's a big one in Vegas. Texas favored by 1.5 right now. I think another one, Missouri-Memphis, will be a good one. Memphis favored by 3.5. South Florida, I mentioned it. Florida favored by 10.5. Another one to keep an eye on. Again, Alabama projected by some to be the best team in college basketball this year, best team in the SEC. It'll be fun to watch them. They're 27.5-point favorites against UNC Asheville. I did take Alabama on this one tonight. You're going to see a little Grant Nelson's going to play a little bit. Latrell Wrightsell's going to play a little bit tonight. And you're going to see Aiden Terrell a little bit tonight. So they're all on a minutes-based count from that perspective right now. So we will keep you up and Adam on college basketball as we stand right now. Again, I will have not live, but I will have a recap tonight after the games. But as we're leaving right now, again, still halftime in a couple of these early matchups. Tennessee up 44-34 at half against Gardner-Webb. UCF, Texas A&M, that's another one to keep an eye on. Just starting tip-off. I'll keep you updated on that one. Kentucky running away with this one to start the second half, 51-28 over Wright State. Again, Kentucky's going to shoot lights out this year, guys. Again, halftime still in Columbia and Colonial Life, 36-31. Mississippi State up 5, 31-26. We're about to head into intermission there. Georgia up 4, 29-25. Georgia's going to be that bubble team this year, folks, I think. Blue Cane and the boys. Vanderbilt just tipping off up 3-2, and Memphis just tipping off up 2-0. Now went over across the other ones, guys. I gave you my college basketball preview heading in on Thursday's show. We dropped that one on YouTube. It's never too late to go check that one out as well, folks. So just keeping you updated across the board there in college basketball. Again, it's the SEC Unfiltered. College football, basketball, baseball, year-round. I got you with college football. I got you with college basketball, folks. But let's move on here. Go to a little week 10 recap, folks. Georgia hangs on for a big, really not satisfying 34-20 win. I mean, it looks like if you watch the game, it did not feel like a 34-20 win. Let's call a spade here, folks. It did not feel like a 34-20 win for people in the red and black. Again, Carson Beck. It's a thing now, folks. It is a thing, and I can't just blame Mike Bobo. I can't just blame Mike Bobo here. Finished 25 for 40, 2 touchdowns, 3 interceptions, should have been 4. He is just not seeing the field right now. His 3 interceptions should have been 4 were really bad. Some in triple coverage, some in double, underneath the fender, coming underneath to come pick it off. It's not good right now. He looks like a deer in headlights. You can tell he's not confident. Kirby Smart used to go off on Stetson Bennett all the time because he knew he could take it. I don't think Carson Beck is mentally tough enough right now. And again, it's not a shot to the kid. He just has no confidence. You can see Kirby not getting on to him, talking post-game. There's no other quarterback I would love to have leading our team right now than Carson Beck. He knows for them to win a championship, Carson Beck has to obviously be playing better, but reach his ultimate ceiling, folks. If he doesn't, Georgia's not going to win a championship, and that's what Georgia's standard is right now, guys. SEC championships, national championships. Kirby Smart knows kind of got to hold his hand a little bit because I don't think I can stay on him like I did against Stetson Bennett. Remember Stetson Bennett in the SEC champion or the college football, the semifinals. He was on his ass after that game. They just had a big comeback into Ohio State. Like, hey, our quarterback needs to make better decisions. He can't say that right now because you can't treat all players the same. I think Carson Beck is very fragile right now. Very fragile from a confidence standpoint. Ole Miss can't have him. I mean, Georgia can't have him playing against Ole Miss like he did Saturday in Jacksonville. They will lose. Georgia's defense just carrying them right now. I see some people saying that DJ Lagway would have played, they would have won. I don't know about all that. Again, I think Georgia's one of the best halftime adjustment teams, if not the best, let's call a spade in the country. I think they would have adjusted a little bit to DJ Lagway. Again, it sounds like he's not totally out for this weekend, but I don't know. It looked like he tore a hamstring there. It looked bad. You ever seen a guy do something to his hamstring and have to get taken off in a cart? I thought he may have separated it from the bone, if I'm being honest. That's what it kind of looked like. But good for him. It doesn't look like he'll be out for the entire season. So I'm fired up about that for him. From Florida, I thought it was Billy Napier's best game plan, honestly. Had a really good game plan. Even Kirby Smart had mentioned complete across the board that he was like, yeah, that's pretty impressive. Like what the game plan they had, even the last play, the interception that CJ Allen had, he was like, they had a guy wide open. Just CJ Allen made a freakish play. I mean, that's what was going on, if we're being completely honest. I think you've got to credit Billy Napier having one of his better game plans of his Florida tenure, as wild as it is to say. They had a third-string quarterback going the whole time, guys. So it's kind of – you got to give him the benefit of the doubt there. I mean, Aiden Warner's only going to do so much. He was 7 for 22, 66 yards and an interception. Is what it is. Again, do you keep Billy Napier off this? No. There's no – Florida is about to have their 4th straight losing season, and just like Auburn, which is wild to say in my lifetime. I never thought in the same 4-year span, Florida and Auburn would have losing seasons. You don't keep a coach off of moral victories and a great game plan in a game you lost by 14. Let's call a spade a spade. Was it a great game plan specifically to last Saturday in Jacksonville? Yeah. But why are you not prepared opening game against Miami? Not saying you should have won that game, but it should have been a closer. That was a blowout from top to bottom. Why were you not prepared against A&M when you didn't know if they were starting Marcel Reed or Connor Wigman? They just came ran it down your throat. Those games at home, it just rubbed me the wrong way. And again, unfortunately for Billy, it's just I'm not going to sit on here. Again, he gets a ton of vegetables, fruits, whatever you want to call it, thrown his way. He's the easy low-hanging fruit to bash. I'm not going to be that guy. It doesn't look good down the road when you factor in the schedule, especially with a third-string quarterback, if they have to roll with him like they potentially will in Austin this week. But it is what it is. But next, Florida travels to Austin. We'll talk about that one a little later against Texas, and Georgia has a big one in Oxford this week. But Georgia gets the 34-20 win over the Florida Gators. South Carolina dominates the second half in Columbia. Man, give credit where credit is due. You thought South Carolina potentially was going to blow another double-digit lead. They're at 14-0 in the first half. Let A&M come back and take the lead, and then just dominated the second half. Did not let A&M score. I thought Lenore Sellers played what like Anthony Richardson was supposed to be. Like Lenore Sellers, 13 for 27, 244, 2 touchdowns. It wasn't just those numbers. It was his ability to extend plays, make plays down the line. Phenomenal job. I'm really impressed with Lenore Sellers. Again, I thought Dow Loggins called some good things as well, but really Lenore Sellers making plays. I thought A&M schemed up some good things defensively, but Lenore Sellers was the difference from that perspective. He was just making plays off missed tackles, extending the pocket, hitting people, dishing it out to Raheem Sanders, who had a big day, 20 carries for 144 yards, 2 touchdowns, 7.2 yards per carry. Defense was dominant in the second half. Just felt like A&M. Again, I picked A&M to win this game. I don't know if I wouldn't go back to it. I just think on Saturday night, South Carolina was the better football team. It was a raucous environment like we all predicted. A&M was coming off an emotional win, and they looked a little tired. Let's call a spade a spade. They looked a little tired, folks. They did, especially in the second half. You can tell for whatever reason it caught up to them. But I think you still got to give credit to South Carolina because they physically dominated the second half. That was the big win Shane Beamer finally got this year. Shane Beamer's had big wins before. In 2022, he had back-to-back ones, Tennessee and South Carolina. This was his big one that He finally just couldn't get it against LSU, couldn't get it against Alabama. Ole Miss is kind of the only game I wouldn't say they were a no-show. It just kind of felt like Shane Beamer's decision to fake a punt early kind of put them out of the game. Again, I thought turnovers would be key in this one, and there really was not many turnovers off the top of my head. When you go back and watch it, I mean, there was 3. I mean, A&M had 2. Some of it was just, all right, A&M just never in that second half just made that play to get over the top. How about Shamar Turner just continuing to get these big penalties too at some point? He had number 5. He had big ones against LSU the week before, had some that extended a drive this past weekend. Some point, I know you're a good player. You're a disruptor. You're on one of the best defensive fronts in the country along with South Carolina. But you got to get you out of the game if you're going to cost your team yards and extra possessions. Because that's what South Carolina got in some of those as well. But bad loss for A&M, I wouldn't turn it to bad. Everybody's kind of being like, oh, man, they got them. A&M just collapsing, doing A&M things. No, guys, this is not A&M doing A&M things. This was a tough-ass SEC football game that I don't know if many teams could have went and beat LSU and at South Carolina back-to-back weeks right now in the SEC. What team do you feel confident in the SEC? I'd love to hear in the comments. Who do you think could go win that game for sure? Those back-to-back weeks. LSU at home and at South Carolina. I don't think anybody could have. I'll be honest with you. I don't think anybody could have. Georgia, I mean, they have inconsistencies. They were in a one-score game with Florida's third-string quarterback. I mean, what are we talking about here, folks? I mean, what are we talking about here? Being serious, what are we talking about here? I don't think anybody could have done it. So, no, I don't think it's a bad loss. Bye week, go regroup against New Mexico State. This isn't Diego Pavia, New Mexico State. You get Auburn at home. Auburn on the Plains. If you lose at Auburn, that is Aggie, is what I'm going to call it. That is doing what Texas A&M does. Losing games are not supposed to. They were only a 3-point favorite in Columbia, folks. This is a good South Carolina football team. Should be a top 25 team. I know they aren't according to the AP poll. But if I was ranking the top 25 teams or the top 25 teams I wouldn't want to play right now, South Carolina would certainly be in that right now, especially the way Lenora Sellers played the other day. We know what we're getting with their defense week to week right now. South Carolina's the top 25 team right now. They are. I know they have 3 losses, but they are a top 25 team right now. Sitting a bad loss for A&M, folks. Just let's go get off our feet a little bit in the bye week. Get ready for New Mexico State. Can't drop the one against Auburn at Jordan-Hare Stadium, and then you're playing for a berth in the playoff at home against Texas. If I was a Texas A&M fan and I told you you're 9-2 heading into your game against Texas in the biggest home game in years, they'd have taken that. Who wouldn't have taken that, folks? Come on. Who wouldn't have taken that? It doesn't sound great right now. You'd have loved to kind of clinch your berth 2 nights ago, but it is what it is. But South Carolina gets there's a big win for Beamer and them, dude. Shane Beamer and them legitimately could win every game left, or they could lose another game or 2. Now, I think they lose 3, no, because I think Vanderbilt, I think, is a pretty good matchup for them. I like South Carolina right now. Missouri, what's going on with Brady Cook and them? I don't know. Shane Beamer's due to win that game. He's never beat Eli Drakewitz, and South Carolina's probably better than Missouri right now. They'll get Wofford, and then at Clemson, we've seen Clemson kind of fraudulent. Louisville took it to them at home, and South Carolina, Shane Beamer won there again. So South Carolina could certainly finish 9-3. I think they're going to probably be in that 7-5, 8-4 category, though. But again, another good season, better than I expected. So that's good for South Carolina. Big win, good environment. That's what college football is about. Everybody keeps saying Williams-Brice Stadium's underrated. I've been there as a staff member on teams I've been in, because I never thought it was underrated. I thought it was a top 10 environment this whole time. So I don't know where the underrated stuff comes out there. Anybody in the comments want to tell me? I don't know. It's always been a top 10 environment to me. So South Carolina fans, that should make you happy there. Ole Miss hammers Arkansas. This was kind of the game. I said it going into this one. If you go back and listen to our preview, I think it was me and Chris was on that, or we're on that one last week. It's like a get-right game for A&M. And I don't use that for Ole Miss. I don't use that loosely, but A&M gets the 63-31 win. Just kind of felt like after they got the 4th down stop and they turned it over deep in their own territory, the game was just over. Ole Miss took it, sucked the air out of Razorback Stadium, and just carried on to victory. Jackson Dart, 25-for-31, 515 yards, 6 touchdowns, no interceptions. Jordan Watkins, big time, 8 receptions, 254, 5 touchdowns. Daquan Wright, 2 touchdowns at the tight end spot. Almost kind of did whatever they wanted to offensively, because that South Carolina secondary is not very good. Again, I've said it. Travis Williams' defense is late in the year, some of it due to injury and depth, but even going back to his first year in 2021, when I was with him in UCF, they fade late in the year as it continues to go on, folks. They fade. It is what it is. They just kind of fade. Ole Miss may have found something. Again, I think it's probably a little mix of both. Most things aren't black and white, folks. It's usually somewhere in the middle. Ole Miss, I think, turned a corner offensively, but a lot of that was because, like I mentioned in the preview, the secondary for Arkansas was there for the taking. Even Mississippi State the week before had a lot going against Arkansas there. Ole Miss, defensively, probably not their best effort. Again, I think some of that was in mop-up duty a little bit late in the game. So we'll be there. I'm going to take it easy on Pete going in that crew a little bit. But complete performance for Ole Miss there. For Arkansas, these last two home games, losing to LSU and Ole Miss like this, probably take away a little bit of that confetti from the Tennessee win a couple weeks ago. Again, does 6-6 keep him around? I don't know. You get Texas in 2 weeks. That's another big home game. You don't want to look bad in that one. You got Missouri trip a couple weeks from now. Louisiana Tech, hopefully you get that one. They're not very good this year. That should be your 6th win, but can they get to 7? That seems like that would certainly lock Sam Pittman into another year in Fayetteville if he wants it. If he wants it. Remember, I think retirement's a little bit on the table there for Sam. But 6-6, I think, is what they will be. They'll have to steal one against Texas or Missouri, which Missouri, last game of the regular season, Thanksgiving week's likely with the way they've been playing right now. I mean, Missouri's a weird team, dude. If they beat Oklahoma, Mississippi State, Arkansas, and who's their last game? Let's see. Sorry, I'm checking out this Missouri schedule for us here, folks. Just want to make sure I got their schedule right. They could be one of the weirdest 10-2 teams we've ever seen. All right, so they play Oklahoma this week, at South Carolina, at Mississippi State, and Arkansas. I don't think they get South Carolina right now, but let's just say they go 9-3. It's a pretty weak 9-3. Sorry, Missouri fans listening. If you go 10-2, I'll give you the credit for the at South Carolina game. But yeah, I mean, it's all going to determine Brady Cook. Again, he got pulled because of that hand injury against Alabama 2 weeks ago. They were on a bye week. They need to get right. Again, I don't think they're in the playoff race, even if they finish 10-2. They need to be big South Carolina fans. They need those South Carolina Gamecocks to keep winning to make that win look better as it goes. But Ole Miss, season on the table next week, or this week, I should say. When Georgia comes to town, it's win. You probably go 10-2. I don't think Florida's backup third-string quarterback is going to beat you even in Gainesville. You should beat a first-year Jeff Levy, Mississippi State. You lose, you're 9-3 most likely. Again, Florida, Mississippi State, I'm going to give you ththose wins. But with the $12 million, $14 million you invested into that roster, it's underperforming this year. It all comes down to this season, man. We got 3 teams that their season comes down to this weekend. That is what is exciting about week 11, folks. Ole Miss, LSU, and Alabama. But Ole Miss gets the big win over Arkansas in Fayetteville, getting the 63-31 win. Vandy just keeps winning, folks. Diego Pavia did not play great across the board that night, but he's still, just for the X factor of winning games, he should be the governor in the state of Alabama. We got an election tomorrow. Kay Ivey, the governor for Alabama. Step over, ma'am. I'm sorry. 3 wins against Alabama and Auburn within the last calendar year allows you to go be the head man in Montgomery. And why I say Montgomery, Alabama, because that is the state capital. That is where Diego Pavia should be. 9 for 22, 143, 2 touchdowns. Not his best day, but again, I picked Auburn in this one. Felt good. Felt like the defense, DJ Durkin and them would have a good plan. They did. They did, folks. It was Hugh Freeze and the boys who let them down. They held Vanderbilt to 227. They outgained them by 100 yards. Auburn had 327. Auburn passed for 239 to Vanderbilt's 143. Rushing was about the same, 88, 84 in favor of Auburn. Penalties, 6-3, and only 1 turnover. It wasn't an ugly game. Just Auburn only gave Jarquez 112 carries. Like, what are we doing? The defense for Auburn certainly played well enough to win this football game, folks. Probably the best job anybody in conference play has done against Vanderbilt. Missouri, Alabama, Texas wasn't bad, but even Texas. And am I missing anybody? No, I don't think so. But that was one of the better defensive performances anyone's had against Vanderbilt this year, and you let it go to waste. You held them to 17 points. And you only scored 7 against the Vanderbilt defense that's pretty above average. I mean, let's look at it. Missouri, they scored 27 points. Alabama, they scored 40. Vanderbilt, Kentucky, they scored 20. Texas, they scored 24, and Auburn, they scored 17. And I even thought it wasn't even that close. And again, I think some of it, Pavia is not 100% healthy, but it still wills his team to a victory. Hugh Freeze, man, I'm telling you, too much stock into Peyton Thorne. I don't think you make a change because I still think he gives you the best chance to win. But you got to feed your playmaker, dude. You out-athlete Vanderbilt. Feed Jarquez Hunter, throw a bunch of back shoulders to Cam Coleman because they don't have guys that can cover you, man. You only gave up 17 points to Vanderbilt, who's been really good on offense all year. You got a bunch of young, talented guys and a good defensive coordinator, Keljit Falk, DJ Durkin. Like, you have talented guys, Jalen Crawford, and you just let it go to waste. And you let it go to waste. What a bad – Hugh Freeze, that loss is on you, just like a lot of these losses have been. Your defense left it all out on the line there against the Vanderbilt team. That's got to be frustrating if you're DJ Durkin and them. 7 points against this Vanderbilt defense. Again, give them credit. Give Clark Lee credit. They're improved. They aren't that improved. That's taking nothing away from Vanderbilt, dude. But you get that kind of defense performance at home and lose by double digits, only 7 points. I'm telling you, man, they got a bye week this week. ULM on deck, guys. What is Auburn's interest level going to be? Because if they're not ready, ULM will beat them in 2 weeks, guys. ULM's not a bad football team, and they will be wanting that game more. Again, I shouldn't say they will be. This game can be closer than people think. They're 5-3, trying to get to their own bowl as well. Auburn's going to have to win out if they want to get to a bowl game. ULM, Texas A&M, at Alabama. They're not going to a bowl game. But what's next? Vanderbilt hosts South Carolina in a big game, guys. That's a big game this week in Fayetteville. I've been in Nashville, midday game there, and then Auburn on a bye week before ULM. But Vanderbilt bowl eligible, guys. Let's give it to the boys. Let's give it to the boys here. Hand clap there for the Vanderbilt Commodores. It's a big 6 wins. Clark Lee, already SEC Coach of the Year. I was going to keep Mike Elko in that conversation. And on the reaction of myself and Cole Thompson of the Auburn game this past week, Auburn Vanderbilt, I said it, like, it's official. He should be that if Mike Elko doesn't go win the SEC. Obviously, he took that second loss. I'm going to give it to his former pupil, Clark Lee, who was his linebackers coach when Elko was the DC in South Bend at Notre Dame. So give them credit. Ons the Gray, my favorite Oklahoma Sooner. He pulled a sneaky, better late than never. College basketball season, baby. We got to sneak it in. I can't be going at 9 Eastern tonight. We got to get back. I got to do a recap on that after. So we started a little earlier there for you, Ons. I apologize. Tennessee takes care of business against Kentucky. I thought Nico was actually pretty solid in this game, guys. I think he took a little bit of a step. But again, the offense just can never get on the same page. Outside of Brew McCoy, who does he trust as a receiver? Who does he trust as a receiver, folks? I really don't know. I don't know who you could trust right now. If Nico, I mean, they had that bye week. He looked comfortable. Miles Ketzelman, the tight end, the transfer from Alabama, led him with 6 receptions for 94. Then Brew McCoy and Chaz Nimrod had 3 after that. And Dante Thornton had 5. Chris Brazzell dropped a touchdown. I thought it could have been a tough grab that Nico easily could have had as another touchdown there. I mean, overall, yeah, Nico, 28 for 38, 292, a touchdown, no interceptions. Run game did what they did, 185. Dylan Sampson went for 142. So they're going to have to continue to have someone help Nico out. I'm sorry, Dylan out, Dylan Sampson out is the second running back. I mean, I looked it up the other day. He has 17 less carries than Ashton Jeanty has on the season. They've been hammering him, trying to get him to the Heisman race in New York. I mean, for the season, my guy Dylan Sampson has 171 carries, folks. That's a lot. That's a lot. They need somebody, whether it's Peyton Lewis, the true freshman, Deshaun Bishop, someone to step up to help him take some of that load off because it's a longer season, folks. If Tennessee gets into this playoff, and I think 10-2 is real for them, they could legitimately be in the playoffs. Gets a little tougher. Gets a little tougher there, folks. You don't want him to go down, or that running game could go down a little bit, and that's been your only consistent threat. That's been your only consistent thing on offense. Defensively, probably one of your, should say worst, not bad. Again, you've held another SEC opponent to under 20. Nobody's doing that. But I think Tim Banks, Ronnie Garner would tell you, hey, we probably gave up a little too much rushing yards to this Kentucky offense, if we're being completely honest. I'm looking at it right now. They gave up on the ground 168 for 4.5 yards a carry. Tennessee's better than that. But again, I mean, they've carried the team all year. They're going to have – you'd rather them have kind of a down game against Kentucky and still get a win. This was a one-score game in the fourth quarter, guys. Tennessee, again, did not play that well. They get Mississippi State at home this week. Again, they need to kind of find out some of this running back depth because I think at some point it's going to hurt them. Because if you keep giving Dylan Sampson those kind of carries with a longer season, again, not saying he's going to get hurt, it just increases the odds he gets hurt. For Kentucky, you're 3-6, 1-6. Again, you've never really got off the bus since the Ole Miss win. Again, I said it. I thought they'd come out and play pretty good football because it's a money game. They see Tennessee, Deion Walker, and I can go make some money on this one. Vanderbilt, Florida, Auburn's not very good. I'm not going to turn that motor on there. But Tennessee, Ole Miss, I'm going to be playing hard. That's what drives me nuts sometimes, and that's what makes great coaches, folks. I worked in the industry for 9 to 10 years. The great coaches now can control their room and get them to play at their expectation to hit their ceiling week to week. The average coaches that don't have control in the room don't do that. I think this is where Mark Stoops, and I like Mark Stoops. I think he's done a phenomenal job in Lexington. This is where he's lost his team. This is where he has lost his team. So they're on a bye week. They have Murray State at Texas and Louisville left. They'd have to win out to make a bowl. They're not. Very disappointing for Kentucky. Not a disappointing performance on Saturday. Just the season. It's like they never came back from the Ole Miss game. Those 3 games, they had a stretch to win. Got Vanderbilt in a perfect spot the week after Alabama when Kentucky was on a bye. Florida at Florida. DJ Lagway making his first SEC start against a Mark Stoops, Brad White defense. Gave up 41 points. And then you gave Auburn their first conference win, who then proceeds to go only score 7 points against Vanderbilt the very next weekend at home after they rushed for 270 on you. Not very good in Kentucky. That's why it's basketball season starting tonight, Kentucky fans. Oklahoma handles Maine. We're not going to go deep in this one, but Oklahoma and Mississippi State get in the win column, folks. You can never be disappointed with that. But Oklahoma gets the 59-14 win. Jackson Arnold, 15 for 21, 224, 2 touchdowns. Again, they got a big one against Missouri this week. They need to bounce back there. Mississippi State gets in the win column as well. Mississippi State getting the 45-20 win over UMass. Again, a win's a win here. Jeff Lebby in his first year sitting 2-7 overall. Still trying to get that first SEC win. That's what you want to do. Maybe Missouri. All depends on Brady Cook's health here in 2 weeks. Something, though, I'd be a little concerned if I was Mississippi State. Defense still is just not it. You're a little scared Tennessee could go. They don't even need Dylan Sampson to go rush all over you this weekend. Again, Mississippi State at Tennessee. But, I mean, they gave up 199 yards on the ground at UMass for 4.1 yards per carry. Yeah, I don't know. That's a little scary, folks. A little scary. But I do like Michael Van Buren. I think he's going to be a good player for him. Again, I think it's a benefit. Again, you never want to see anybody get hurt. But Blake Shapen, the quarterback, that got hurt. I think Michael Van Buren stepping in, going on the road in environments in Athens, Austin. He will be going to Neyland this weekend in Knoxville, and he'll finish it up in Oxford. That gives them a head start in the spring where they can open up more of the playbook. So if you're a Mississippi State fan listening, Michael Van Buren's your guy. I think spring is his next step to head into that 2025 season. They don't have to start from scratch. They know what they have. He's been tested. He's played in a lot of these environments. Give him credit. I mean, he's going to be playing in a lot of these environments that some of these transfer portal kids coming into the conference next year at the quarterback spot. Looking at you, Auburn, we'll have not seen. So I like that. A little blessing in disguise there for Mississippi State. Not all bad. Not a great season this year, but some stuff to look forward to for sure. The road to Atlanta. Let's look at the race to the SEC championship game, folks. I think as of right now, on the surface level, we would say the winner of Georgia-Tennessee next week, the winner of that feels really good and would probably play the winner of the Texas A&M game if all things go, if we're chalk across the board. If Georgia doesn't lose to Ole Miss, if Tennessee doesn't lose to Mississippi State, or Vanderbilt down the road too. That's another one to keep in mind, though. If Texas, we'll talk about one here, doesn't lose at Arkansas, and if Texas A&M doesn't drop one at Auburn, all things chalk, yes, that's what it'd be. The winner of Georgia-Tennessee next week would probably be going to Atlanta. And the last game of the regular season, if the winner at Kyle Field between Texas A&M would be going to Atlanta. So it'd be that. One of those. You feel pretty good about one of those, 2 of those 4 teams getting to Atlanta. But the wild card games I mentioned, Georgia at Ole Miss this week could throw a real wrench into that. That'd be Georgia's second conference loss. And then, call me crazy, Texas at Arkansas in 2 weeks. Arkansas is more dangerous when no one's talking about it. Myself, everybody was talking about them heading to that LSU game off of bye week. LSU playing the emotional game against Ole Miss. Didn't work. Man, they got a good spot against an Ole Miss team who hadn't played a complete game all year. Well, Ole Miss goes and plays their complete game. No one's going to be talking Arkansas, Texas in 2 weeks. Can they kind of get it together? Could that be Sam Pittman's big 7th win? That'd put a big wrench in the SEC championship race. Also got to think, Alabama at LSU this week. If Georgia were to lose to Ole Miss, if Texas were to lose to Arkansas, you could maybe have a 2-loss SEC champion heading into this game. You maybe could have a 2-loss SEC champion. That's where the winner of that gets back into it a little bit. Loser, obviously, 3 losses. LSU would have LSU would only have 1 conference loss still. But again, my point, playoff-wise, loser Alabama, LSU's out this week. It is what it is. Winner is still in the conference championship race, especially LSU. They'd still have 1 conference loss across the board, but they would not have the tiebreaker over A&M. Another wild card, Vanderbilt at Tennessee to end the year. If Tennessee were to beat Georgia, again, we can't be counting Vanderbilt as a win across the board anymore, guys. But I think that's really it. You know what I mean? I don't think. I think if I was a bet man, the winner of Georgia Tennessee will face the winner of Texas A&M. I feel pretty good about that one. I'm gonna have we'll preview it a little bit more, Georgia Ole Miss. But outside of that, but some games to keep an eye on, like I mentioned for the race. Georgia at Ole Miss this week will help. Texas at Arkansas, Alabama at LSU, obviously, Vanderbilt, Tennessee. I would say those other games. Because I don't think Texas is going to lose to Florida and a third-string quarterback. I don't think it's going to affect Kentucky. If they haven't already officially quit, they're not going to go do anything to Texas the week before the A&M game in Austin. I don't think so. Tennessee's not going to lose to Mississippi State. Then they have UTEP left, so it's just Georgia. That's it. I mean, that's why I'm a little shocked. I guess Missouri has 2 conference losses if things went real wild, but again, I don't think so. They got a tough trip at South Carolina still that I don't think they'd win right now. Vanderbilt, it's wild to say, folks. Wild to say. Vanderbilt could be the team we're all kind of looking at like, hey, don't forget about me, guys. We played Texas, came down to an onside kick. We beat Alabama. And their schedule sets up. You got 3 conference games left. 3 conference. They get South Carolina this week at LSU and Tennessee. Chances of the winning all 3 would be slim to none. Again, sorry, Commodore fans. I don't see that. And that's not a slight towards you. You're going to be underdog in every one of these games. But I will say this. If you were to get South Carolina this week and LSU were to lose to Bama, it'd be LSU's 3rd loss. They're out of the playoff race. I don't know how much LSU is going to be checked into that game when you have to be checked in against this Vanderbilt offense. Because it's assignment sound football. It's nothing you can just walk through Monday through Friday in your prep, Monday through Thursday in your prep, and through your meetings on Friday, I should say, and just kind of, hey, we'll go roll the balls out, beat Vanderbilt. If you're not assignment sound football, as we've seen, which Auburn was this past week, and why it's so disappointing if you're an Auburn fan, why you probably had the best performance of any SEC team so far against Vanderbilt, and you still lost because you only scored 7 points. Conversation for another day, but yeah, Vanderbilt wins out. They're in it too. I know they have 2 conference losses to Texas and Missouri, but still, they still got a chance. Again, they had to win all 3. I don't think they do. But if they were to win this week and LSU lose to Bama, that would be an interesting one. And last game of the regular season, Tennessee coming to town. Who the hell knows from that perspective? But just a little bit of road to Atlanta. Again, odds are saying I think Georgia probably beats Ole Miss this week. Again, not definitive. I did give my official prediction on that one. I have not given my official prediction on the Alabama LSU game. I keep going back and forth. But I think the road to Atlanta SEC championship game is going to come down to the winner of Georgia Tennessee next week, which is at night, by the way, now. First since 2006, I think, in Athens, since they played at night. And then Texas A&M. Feels pretty locked. Got a couple games there, though, that could change it. My initial college football playoff rankings. And remember, after the live show tomorrow, the college football playoff rankings, which I believe is at, at 8 Eastern, is it? Let's see. I believe it is. Sorry, I'm checking for you right now. I believe it is. Yeah. No, 7 Eastern. So 7 p.m. to 8 Eastern right there. So me, Chris Phillips, and Cole Thompson will be reacting to that probably 5-10 minutes after it's over. So join us here live on the SEC Unfiltered. Sorry, I got some mind there for a minute. Join us live, myself, Chris Phillips, Cole Thompson, all the Sunday Funday reaction show, guys. It'll be a blast to do that. And then from that perspective, let's go before we get into my CFP, my 1 through 12, as we stand right now. Not what I think it'll end up being, but if I was ranking first initial CFP, I'm about to give it to you. Let's check out some of these basketball scores, though. I promise you I'd keep you up to date. Tennessee pulling away from Gardner-Webb, 67-44 with 10:54 left. A&M up 6. Real rock fight down in Orlando. Typical A&M game. 49-43. This game was tied at half. A&M's be a big road win against Johnny Dawkins and the boys. Kentucky up 40 right now against Wright State, 87-47. South Carolina up 4. Lamont Paris and the boys trying to match what they did last year by finishing 5th in the SEC. Big year. 7-13 left. That'll be a game to monitor down the stretch. Remember, North Florida has Chaz Lanier, who transferred to Tennessee, so they're without one of their better players. Mississippi State kind of stretching themselves away from, or kind of running away with it now, up 20 with 13:44 left in the second. Georgia up 1.5 against Tennessee Tech. Vanderbilt up 38-25, so up 8 right now against Maryland Eastern Shore. Missouri up 11 right now. It'd be a big win right here for Dennis Gates and the boys. Up 11 with 6:10 left in the first half. South Florida up 3-0 against Florida. Long Island up 2-0 quickly against Ole Miss. And remember, UNC Asheville, Alabama later tonight at 9 Eastern. Lindenwood, Oklahoma at 9 Eastern. And then the big one at 10 Eastern on TNT, national television, Texas versus Ohio State in Vegas. So keeping you up to date on the hoops, college football, college basketball kicks off tonight, guys. Can't wait to continue to bring you all that action. Across the board, and again, guys, we're not moving the show once conference play really starts and I'm doing my reactions because, again, as you know, in the middle of the week, the SEC plays on Tuesday and Wednesday and then obviously Saturday for you non-rookies out there. Again, guys, just got to blow it up, put her on the shelf, but here she is. Here she is. You'll see all my tweets. You'll give me the follow. I tweet this sucker out every day. I used to have it inflated. I need to go on the move. I'm going to deflate her up, though, but I have her, folks. So college basketball is here, guys. Great time. But let me get into my college football, my top 12 as we stand going into week 1. Again, not how I think this finishes, just where we stand heading into the first week of the playoff. And remember, this is big because this kind of sets the tone on how much you can move up. It also shows you, hey, are they counting in good wins, your schedule, eye test? I'm a big win eye test. And I know the eye test is a little subjective, but I feel like I worked in the sport in personnel departments, multiple SEC schools. I feel like I got a pretty good eye for college football talent and obviously college basketball talent as well. But let's get to it. Number 1, I don't know how you get tonight. Oregon Ducks. I think they look the best. Again, I thought they had some holes heading into the Ohio State game with the offensive line, but I think right now you got to put them number 1 coming out of the Big Ten. Georgia, it's weird to say this after the performance against Florida this past week, as we previously talked about, but I would have Georgia sitting there at 2. Again, they have a great win at Texas. Clemson win doesn't look as great, but still, a win against Clemson on a neutral site is better than a lot of teams have right now. So I'll give them 2 wins. They're at 2. Ohio State, I think, sitting there with another great win against Penn State. Again, they lost a game at Oregon. It came down to the very end. Could have won either way. Remember, the landing rule with 13 guys on the field. But I think Ohio State at 3 is fair, especially after the win against Penn State. This is where it comes in. I think this team is just good, not great, but they are undefeated. And you got to account for something. The eye test hasn't been there for me all year, but I have to put them at 4. They're undefeated. They played well across the board. They're improved. Do they hit their ceiling? I don't think so. I mean, the ACC championship game right now looks like it's going to be Miami SMU. But I'm fine with Miami sitting at 4. I don't love it. It's my own rankings, but I could see where someone would pick a hole in that, if I'm being honest. Number 5, this may shock some people. How you win, I don't care who you're playing. Again, I could maybe move this team back as the season goes on. But as of right now, they've won every game by double digit. They look clean. They've missed their quarterback, Curtis Rourke, for a little bit. Here they are, Indiana and the Fighting Kirk Cignettis. They're undefeated, won every game by double digits. You're sitting at 5 in the first one. Again, this is how they stand heading in right now, folks that are just tuning in. This is not how I think they'll finish. If you want to go see how I think it'll finish, I did that on Thursday. This past Thursday's episode, go to our live videos at the SEC Unfiltered channel, folks. But I got to go Indiana at 5, guys. I don't know how you couldn't rank them there right now. Double-digit wins. It's not like they're barely getting by. They haven't played a lot of great teams. Again, I said it last week. They have played one team with a winning record on their schedule right now. Alabama, who has 2 losses, has played one team with a losing record, and that is South Florida. So that shows you schedule matters. But I think right now I'm good with putting Indiana at number 5. Number 6, the Tennessee Volunteers. Call me crazy. Their best win, Alabama at home a couple weeks ago. The one loss at Arkansas. I just think right now it's not really. Again, Tennessee has some issues they got to figure out. But again, everybody in the country does this year. It's the most. It really is across the board. Anyone can beat it. I had a guy at Arkansas today at work there text me saying they were watching film in Texas. Like, man, Texas is so beatable this year. I'm like, you could say that about everybody, man. Outside of probably Auburn and Mississippi State in the SEC, anyone in the SEC 1 through 14 can get anybody on a given day. Again, I mentioned I think South Carolina is a top 25 team, and they have 3 losses right now. I wouldn't want to play South Carolina right now. I don't really care where it is. At Willie B, where we say it's the most underrated place in the country right now, it's not underrated, folks, for you people just tuning in. It's a top 10 environment. But I got Tennessee at 6. I just do. I think it's a little bit more. As I go through these other 7, 6 teams I'm talking about, you'll see like, oh, I see why he did that. Next, another SEC team. I got 7, Texas. Best win? Probably Michigan. I mean, it's nothing to really write home about. I'm just saying, I think the eye test allows me to keep pushing them up a little bit. Hell, ULM is probably their second best win. Vanderbilt is their best win. I'm looking at their schedule. Right? Vanderbilt's their best win, followed probably by Michigan and then ULM. I just kind of think I like Texas there again. The eye test hasn't always been there. The Quinn Ewers performance against Georgia leaves a bad taste in my mouth. But again, guys, where are you putting a lot of these teams? Here's a team I think you could maybe move up a little bit. And I think I couldn't argue with you. I think the future Big 12 champ, BYU, folks. I think the Cougars are going to represent the Big 12 this year. I mean, it was a really good weekend if you're an SEC fan like we are here. You had Iowa State lose to Texas Tech. You had K-State lose to Houston. Chaos in the Big 12. It looks like the Big 12 is only going to get one team in, guys. They're only going to get one team in. The ACC, Clemson lost, which helps the SEC because I think SMU is going to lose at some point. But BYU is a big win at SMU in week 2. K-State, they won 38-9. I'm just putting BYU here because I'm giving the SEC teams a little bit of the benefit of the doubt with the schedules. But I wouldn't hate it. I'll be honest with you. I would not hate it if someone put BYU at 6. I think those K-State SMU wins right now as we stand look pretty solid. I'm interested to see BYU's that team. I'm really interested to see where the committee ranks them initially. They're one of the few teams them and Boise State are kind of those teams I want to see. Where do you rank them initially? Just kind of thinking about it. Number 9, Notre Dame. They got a great win at Texas A&M to open up the season. So you got to give them credit there across the board. I mean, again, the schedule hasn't been daunting, but that A&M win, I know A&M lost to South Carolina, but still, you have a team that's tied for first place in the SEC. You won at, again, it was week 1. A lot of things have changed, but still, a win's a win there. Got to win against Navy. Other than that, not a lot of great wins, but I still think the Irish, you got to fit them in there. They should finish at worst 10-2, but I think they're going to get 11-1. They got Florida State next week, Virginia. Army's their toughest game left in at USC, and some people maybe say at USC. But that's a great matchup for Notre Dame, if I'm being honest. And Marcus Freeman. Number 10, James Franklin and the boys. He can't get it done in the big one, but again, I think they're going to finish 11-1, folks. I'm pulling up their schedule right now. I think they're going to finish 11-1. Kind of like what they've been doing so far. Again, the 12-team playoff, folks, was made for Penn State. They're almost going to be in it every year. I know they don't play Michigan this year, but when they do play Michigan and Ohio State or Oregon in the same year and they only lose 2, they finish 10-2, they're going to be in the playoffs every year. Give me Penn State. I think they're sitting fine right there at number 10. Again, West Virginia to open up the season, I thought was a pretty solid win. You beat a top 20 Illinois team. You won at USC, at Wisconsin. Lost to Ohio State when you got up 10-0. Just couldn't put the nail in the coffin. I like them at 10. That's fine with me. Penn State coming in at 10. Again, no one benefited from the 12-team expansion more than James Franklin and Penn State. You're probably going to be in the playoffs every year. Number 11, Alabama. Again, I mentioned Alabama's schedule, folks, at 10-2. If they were to beat LSU this week, went out, beat Mercer, beat Oklahoma on the road, and beat Auburn, which they would be favored to do, they're going to be in, guys. Again, they've only played one team with a losing record, and that was South Florida. They got arguably the second best win in college football right now. I'll probably give Georgia the nod right now at Texas. I think the top 3 wins in college, man, it's making me think. The top wins in college football right now, it's got to be a mixture. Georgia at Texas, Georgia getting that win. Oregon over Ohio State, Bama over Georgia, probably Ohio State at Penn State, however you want to rank those 4 games. I don't want to waste your time me thinking about it right now. If I had to, just you put my feet to the fire, rank those wins. I'm going to go Georgia at Texas 1. Just when you factor it all in, their back was against the wall. Bama over Georgia. Oregon over Ohio State. And I think Ohio State over Penn State is how I rank those right now. But Bama's got some good wins, man. Georgia, South Carolina looks good right now. I mean, Missouri at the time was a top 25 win. Again, I don't think they are. I'm just saying what they are. Alabama at 10-2 with a road win and a top 15 LSU this week. They don't get upset by Oklahoma or Auburn, obviously Mercer. They're going to be in the playoffs, folks. Eye test hadn't always been there, but I think the resume tilted up a little bit. I like Bama right there sitting at 11. And then finally, had a couple teams I think you could talk about here. I think LSU, Boise State could be in this conversation a little bit. Ole Miss, maybe a little bit. But I'm going to go Texas A&M. I'm going to go Texas A&M. 2 losses aren't bad. Notre Dame at South Carolina. I don't think anyone would have went and won at South Carolina the other night. That's crazy to say. I just think everything went against them that game. South Carolina won the game outright. Don't get me wrong. I just think when you factor in all the external stuff off an emotional game, South Carolina played their best game of the season at night at their home field. I think a lot of teams would have lost that game. Murr, I posed you the question at the beginning of the show. How many teams in the SEC could go beat LSU and then go win at South Carolina back-to-back weeks the way South Carolina played on Saturday? I don't think any of them I feel confident saying that right now. A&M comes in at 12 right now because I think they got another good win against LSU at home. The Missouri wins solid as well. I know people stop talking about that. But I think overall, though, I think this is my top 12 right now. And I think the team you could argue with me a little bit moving up and down is probably BYU could probably be a little higher. But as I stand right now, I got Oregon coming in at 1, Georgia 2, Ohio State 3, Miami 4, Indiana 5, Tennessee 6, Texas 7, BYU 8, Notre Dame 9, Penn State 10, Alabama 11, and Texas A&M 12. Again, this is not how I think it finishes. This is how I think as we stand today, November 4th, the night before the first CFP release, this is what I would go with as we stand right now. And again, I told you, you could make a lot of arguments about BYU, but let's go to the comments. CFP ranking sponsored by heavy drug use. If it's anything like the AP poll for some teams stands for undefeated. FSU didn't count for crap last year. Just saying, hey, let Daddy Saban in for one more time. We could leave out Texas. Few drop passes away from slaughtering every team in Tennessee. So Penn State gets rewarded for playing a trash schedule and losing to Ohio State every year. I'm not saying that. I'm just saying right now, I think this is Oren Gump. And in this Gump, my main Gump Balls, he just changed his name. One of our loyal listeners, I appreciate him listening. I mean, it's as we stand right now, Vol. They have 1 loss. I mean, I don't know how I would leave them out right now. And they have some solid wins against West Virginia and Illinois. I mean, that's better than what some other teams have. Again, I'm not saying they will be in the playoffs, but I probably think they will when you factor in their schedule. I think they will. Again, I'm pulling it up again, the schedule for Penn State. I mean, they have 1 loss, and the remaining schedule is Washington this week, at Purdue, which they'll win, at Minnesota. It's maybe a game they stub their toe, but not right now. And then Maryland. I mean, at 11-1, they're only lost to Ohio State by 1 score. They're getting in, Dolphs. I don't even know how that would be an argument. Gumps, sorry. My guy Gumps, it is him. He says, don't do that unless you do that across the board. NC State was ranked, and OU when Tennessee beat them. Can't have it both ways. Now, I'm really talking about that Illinois game, really. I think Illinois is a little better than people think they are. So, again, yeah, but you and I both know the Oklahoma is not a good football team this year. I think Illinois would beat Oklahoma. I'm with you. You got to stick it. You got to be standard. Hey, when they played or at the end of the season, I'm going to go into the year mostly. I'm just breaking down Penn State schedules we stand right now. I just think right now with 1 loss, and if they were to win out, beat Washington, Minnesota, they should beat Purdue, and then they beat Maryland in the year, they're going to be in at 11-1, dude. I mean, they would be in an 11-1 over Indiana if they're both Indiana and Indiana loses in Columbus in the next couple of weeks. Just is what it is. I mean, I think those last 12 spots, you can make a case for Boise State trying to get up there in the top 12, maybe one of those first-round spots. Remember, their only loss, guys, is to 1-score game to Oregon on the road. So, I mean, they're big Oregon fans. I mean, that really helps Boise's, that group of 5 team. A team is probably kicking themselves a little bit is Tulane. If they could have got one of those Oklahoma K-State games, most likely the K-State one would have helped them a lot more because they were kind of in the Big 12 title race. That would have helped them a little more. They'd be talked about as one of the better group of 5 teams. Talking to someone on their staff today, and they were just kicking themselves. They're like, yeah, we still got to play Navy and Memphis to get there, but they're like, man, if we would have got one of those Power 4 conferences, we should have won. But yes, Boise State, 1 loss right now. Took that loss week 2, 37-34 to Oregon on the road. They got left Nevada, at San Jose State, at Wyoming, and Oregon State. I don't see them dropping any of those games. So I think Boise State at the end of the year is probably going to be the highest rated group of 5. And if they can be in that top 12, guys, they may get one of those buys. Crazy to say, but that is my top 12 going into tomorrow, folks. For people listening later, this is not what I think it's going to be. It's not what I think it's going to. If you want to see what I think it's going to be at the end of the year, going into last weekend, key phrase being going into last weekend, because I had Clemson in it and they lost. Go check out my thing from last Thursday, the show Dave Talks Ball from last Thursday, folks. Let's get that off the screen. And before, guys, we got a couple more things I want to get to before we really head into the week. We got week 11 look ahead. We'll be right at the hour more, guys. But before we get out of here, before we start looking at week 11, I want to say make sure this episode of Dave Talks Ball is brought to you by MyBookie. Go to mybookie8.ag and use code SECU at sign up to receive a special welcome offer on your first deposit. I took Alabama minus 27.5, guys. Win in Rome, opening night of college basketball. Put some money on the Tide. I think they may cover that against UNC Asheville. But I encourage you, college basketball, college football, Beast Week's right around the corner, my favorite week of the year. Come on, guys. I think you can even bet maybe on the presidential election if you want to on there. I hadn't dug deep, but tell me in the comments if you have, guys. But let's move on to the week 11 look ahead, folks. Let me go to it. So we got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 matchups here. Opening us up, noon Eastern on ABC. We got a triple header on ABC this week. Florida at Texas, noon Eastern on ABC. Texas currently favored by 21.5. The total is 47.5. It looks like it'll be another start for Florida across the board here for our guy. I mean, Aiden Warner, the Yale transfer, double legacy. Both parents went to Florida, transfer from Yale. Looks like he's probably going to get the start. I saw Lagway wasn't completely out. I have a hard time seeing Florida win this game. And you feel for Billy Napier because he took that injury to DJ Lagway probably did him in for his job. And you hate saying that. But again, I can't get real fired up off a moral victory against Georgia when you can't show up at home against games like Miami and Texas A&M early in the season. So again, Florida should not be having 4 straight losing seasons, 3 of them with Billy Napier. So I think he's made his bed from that perspective. I'd expect Texas to get the win in this one. We'll preview this one on Thursday, as we always do. Another big one, number 2, Georgia heads to number 16, Ole Miss, 3:30 p.m. Eastern, right after this Florida-Texas game. On ABC, Georgia's favored by 2.5. The point total, 54.5. Win or go home, essentially, for Ole Miss. I know you got 3 more games after, but it's essentially a win or go home. You want to keep your playoff hopes alive. Have to win this one. I think it's a battle of who plays the best at the quarterback spot. Both quarterbacks. Jackson Dart hadn't been as bad as Carson Beck, but he's been a little inconsistent outside of last weekend. Maybe Ole Miss turned the key on that one. Do they get Trey Harris back? Something to keep an eye on that one. Georgia plays best when their back's against the wall. I think a lot of people are going to be picking Ole Miss in this one. Our preview's already up at the SEC Unfiltered channel. Go give it a look. Myself and Chris Phillips did this. The thing with Georgia is if they get up quickly, they can't go rest in the laurels in this one because Texas and Ole Miss's offenses are different. Texas is more dink and dunk underneath with Quinn Ewers. Ole Miss is like a basketball game. They're going to go take their shots downfield on you, get back in this game real quick. I think whatever quarterback makes the least amount of mistakes here, I don't trust Carson Beck overly in this one. This will be a good one, though. This will be a good one. Ole Miss fans, it's the biggest game since probably the 2003 LSU game when Nick Saban and them came to town to face a senior-led Ole Miss team led by Eli Manning for the SEC West. LSU got that one. LSU ultimately won the national championship that year, but this is another big one in the vault in Oxford. South Carolina at Vanderbilt. It's a big one. It's a big one from a standing standpoint here, folks. They're tied, both 3-3. Yeah, 3-0. Vanderbilt's 3-2. South Carolina's 3-3. It's a big one in Nashville. South Carolina can continue that march to 9 wins with a win here. Vanderbilt, do they ever just stub their toe and just not look good? They didn't look great against Auburn. It was set up for them to lose, especially offensively, because, again, I think Diego Pavia is not 100%. But I trust South Carolina's defense to continue to play well. What a just disruptive front. Dylan Stewart, Kyle Kennard. But again, this is a different offense that you don't traditionally see. You have to play assignment sound football. This isn't a stats game, Dylan Stewart and Kyle Kennard. You're probably not listening. But if you are, this isn't a stats game. This is a game where, hey, you got to go play your best football to allow the guy behind you to go make plays. This is an unselfish game plan if you're Clayton White and the boys here. You have to go set your teammates up for success for the guy at the next level to go get these kind of wins for you and make plays on the back end. This is what you have to do in this one. This is a Debo Williams type collecting game. Nick Manwari down the stretch. This is that kind of game. This will be a fun one to watch midday along with that Ole Miss Georgia game in Oxford. Mississippi State at Tennessee, 7 p.m. Eastern on ESPN. Mississippi State favored by 24, point total 61.5. Tennessee should win this game. I just want to see a little bit more depth outside Dylan Sampson because, again, the season's longer. Can Dylan Sampson with a longer season keep up at the rate he's going? He's only got 16 less carries than Ashton Jeanty, and they're trying to get Ashton Jeanty to New York for the Heisman ceremony to potentially win it. They need to slow down a little bit. That someone needs to step up for Tennessee across the board here in that backfield. I just think that's what's got to happen here to an extent if Tennessee ultimately wants to reach their ultimate goals. Someone like Peyton Lewis, like I mentioned, Deshaun Bishop needs to step up here for the Volunteers. Next game here. Oh, sorry, it went out on me. A graphic went out. There we go. All right, Alabama at LSU, 7:30 p.m. Eastern on ABC. Alabama favored by 2.5, point total 58.5. I expect a lot of points in this one. Could be a little rainy with the tropical storm coming in through. If you haven't been keeping up with it, I like to keep up with weather, so I kept up with that one a little bit. It's an elimination game, guys. Losers out of the playoffs. I don't think either one of these teams will be in Atlanta just because unless there's some chaos that happens. But I think winner is a real shot to get to the college football playoff. This is a playoff game, folks. What Alabama team do we get? What LSU team we get? Both. There's a lot of paths to victory for both these teams on both sides. Big one for Kalen DeBoer. You win this one, a lot of people will forget about that Vanderbilt loss again. And I'm not one that thinks the Vanderbilt loss is as bad as it looks because it's sitting your grandma's Vanderbilt. It's a bowl-eligible official team after the win against Auburn last week with Vanderbilt. But this would be one that Alabama fans would get fired up about. And again, Alabama traditionally has success in Baton Rouge. They have only lost in Tiger Stadium since 1970. 5 times. Even when Nick Saban was the head coach in Baton Rouge, Dennis Franchione went and got him in 2002. Remember, that was the game that him and Dennis Franchione had some words. I don't know. I think Saban said something in the week. It pissed Dennis Franchione off. He says Alabama won like 30-0. Alabama traditionally dominates in Baton Rouge. Not like specifically those games. But again, 5 losses in 54 years when you go there every other year. It's pretty impressive, but nonetheless, this year, it's a college football playoff game. I don't care what people are saying. College game day is going to be there. Nick Saban has returned to Baton Rouge. How will they greet him in that return there? And then finally, the last game of the night, Oklahoma at Missouri, 7:45 p.m. Eastern on the SEC Network. Missouri favored by 1.5. Oklahoma currently favored by 42. Or no, favored by 42. Point total, 42.5 across the board. This is a game Missouri's got to get, folks. You got to get this one against a struggling Oklahoma team. I know Jackson Arnold's in. Joe John Finley is the interim OC after them getting rid of Seth Luttrell. It's a big game for both teams. Big game for both teams. Missouri wants to try to get that double-digit win total again. They got to have this one. Right now, Oklahoma, this is a game. Do you try to go get to 6? You're at 5-4 after the win against Maine. You play Alabama and at LSU left. You got a bye week after Missouri here to get settled into Alabama. This is probably your most winnable game left, guys. If you're going to get to 6, this is it. With all the injuries, I know Oklahoma fans are not going to want to hear this, but I think 6 would be salvaging the season. Is it what you want? No, because I think Oklahoma fans had a lot higher aspirations, 8-4, 9-3 to open up the year, and people in the SEC were telling them, hey, look, this league's harder than what it is. And I don't really think that's what it is. I think they did have the harder conference schedule. People want to talk about Florida, but they played UCF and who isn't awesome. But then you played Miami at a conference, and Florida State going into the year looked better than it was, but they're horrendous. But I think Oklahoma had a hard schedule. Factor in the injuries at wide receiver, offensive line. I think 6 wins would be big. If you could get that win this week in Como, that would be massive. Big win for Brent Venables. I think he could maybe be coach of the week if you could get that one, depending what Brian Kelly, Kalen DeBoer, Kirby Smart, and Lane Kiffin do. But that is the Week 11 look ahead, guys. I will give you my predictions, obviously, for you normal listeners, as you know, on Thursday. Big Ox, we get out of here, go to the comments. Do you think Boise hosts over an SEC team? No, I don't think so. I don't. Yeah, you're right. Money don't work like that. At the end of the day, folks, it's a business. I've worked in it. It is a business. And whoever did Florida's schedule hates Napier. Yeah, I don't know. And whoever did Texas's likes Texas, guys. But again, opening night of college basketball. About to go tune in, guys. Alabama's about to tip off. We got Texas, Ohio State in the best game of the night here at 10 Eastern. We talked opening night of college basketball. We talked about my playoff rankings across the board heading into tomorrow. Remember, live reaction to it, myself, Chris Phillips, and Cole Thompson after the 7 Eastern initial college football playoff rankings. Remember, guys, this isn't the 14 playoff CFP rankings where it won't matter. Tomorrow's big to see where you start heading into the last month of the regular season. I did the road to Atlanta. Odds are, would say probably the two winners of Georgia, Tennessee next week and the Texas A&M game in a couple weeks. That's who you see. 2 out of those 4 teams will probably be in Atlanta. And then we did the Week 11 look ahead, folks. Folks, I appreciate you joining me, sitting with me. I went an hour early, but I appreciate you joining us, guys. Again, I will see you. We'll be at 9 p.m. Eastern on Thursday, folks. But again, don't forget to join us for the live stream tomorrow after the CFP initial reveal. Myself, Chris Phillips, Cole Thompson, folks. Let's go watch some basketball. I'll have a basketball recap video. It won't be live, but I'll have that up in the morning. But guys, I appreciate you joining me. You have a phenomenal rest of your week. Can't wait to see you on Thursday night.